I did A-levels and then I did a Bachelor in Applied Maths at university. And I can tell you right now which one I preferred. University, by far. Better social life, better independence, etc. The list goes on. It's a much better experience in my opinion. But there is one specific thing that A-levels does really well that university falls completely short on. And most of you don't realize you have this until it's gone and you can never get it back. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that thing is and how to appreciate it more. Most A-level students see this whole stretch. So year 12, year 13, and then you get to uni and then the real life starts, right? So everything until then was just a prep. Doesn't really count, and then university, everything begins. But there's one part of A-levels that doesn't exist at uni, really at all. It may be in some subjects. Let me show you what I mean. One moment during university and one moment during A-levels. It's 2 days before my linear algebra final. I'm at my desk in my flat, textbook open, matrices on the page, some chapter on manipulations. I haven't really touched on it all semester. I'm not panicking per se, I'm not in a massive crisis, but I am sitting there going, okay, there is a ton of information here and there just isn't enough time. I'm not going to understand this properly, but I can maybe learn the steps well enough to recognize them on the paper. And that's the deal at university. You're going to have so many modules running in that semester that a lot of them will overlap when it comes to like exams and whatnot. And because each of them has so much volume, you're always going to be feeling like you're behind. Like it's very rare that you feel completely prepared for university exam unless you've just been focused on that one specific topic. But a lot of the time, you're going to be cramming a lot, and there's a lot of information that you basically just need to like digest, and you need to get comfortable with knowing that I'm not really going to understand this, but I just need to understand how the steps work. To a large extent, that is how university works. Now, obviously, I went to a university in South Africa, so maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe each university is a little bit different, right? But I would say for the most part, this is why a lot of people end up dropping out, for instance, because the volume is so much, and it's not uncommon where you've got an exam and you're studying so hard for it, and even 2 hours before that exam, you are still like studying new content, right? It's not unheard of. So it's just another level entirely. Now, what happened to my linear algebra exam? I ended up passing, but I honestly can't tell you the specific details of that because I've honestly just forgotten so much about it. That's the way university exams really kind of work, especially at a bachelor's level. Maybe at a master's it's different, but at least at a bachelor's level, you'll have an exam for a topic one semester, and then a completely new topic in a different semester, and they won't overlap. Okay, so you write the exam and then it goes out your brain immediately. All that volume crammed in, then it's gone. Okay, so you just end up becoming like a exam machine where you just write exams and it's so mechanical, like you can't believe it. Now the reason I'm telling you this is not to put you off uni, because as I said in the beginning, uni is like way better than A-levels in my opinion, just from a school versus university perspective. But I have to be honest and tell you that when it comes to actual like the learning process at university, what you'll feel, at least what I felt, I can't speak for you, is that it feels just way more mechanical. Like at A-levels, you kind of get a gist. If you're like studying regularly, you feel like you're understanding the topic, and it feels a bit more like enjoyable, a bit challenging, right? But at university, it felt, at least for me, extremely mechanical. Like there was no emphasis where you felt like, okay, I'm going to try get like an intuitive understanding of this or whatnot. And even if you could, like the time would just completely eliminate that motivation. You are like so stuck for time because of all the volume you've got with all these subjects that you're just studying for that exam, and you don't really garner like a deep appreciation for the topic, in my opinion at least. So on the other hand, right, I was on holiday and I had a test on vectors coming up, and I had to study on holiday. And I remember being on a ferry thinking like, oh, this sucks, I got to study for vectors, whatever. And look, no one wants to study on holiday, but in this instance, when I was studying, I was actually thinking to myself, well, this is actually pretty interesting. When I was like studying, I was like, okay, this is somewhat actually challenging. It's quite interesting. I'm going through the textbook trying to understand it. I'm not even bullshitting it. I'm being dead serious. I know it sounds a bit cringe, but it's true. And yeah, it was just a cool experience. Feeling like you were like in some kind of maths movie or something. But when you're doing like university prep, a lot of time it is just tons of rote learning. That's what you need to prepare yourself for. And look, I'm not saying that this is a big surprise, because everyone knows that uni is going to be more difficult than A-levels. But what I am saying is just prepare yourself that the whole method of learning changes. That's basically the key thing to understand here. And this isn't a knock on uni as well. I mean, it's just the product of having, subjects with that much volume. And at the same time, when you get to master's level, I've heard from people that this kind of changes, right? Because you're heavily focused on a specific topic. So this applies more on a bachelor's level. So at the end of the day, if you're in year 12 and if you're in year 13, this time is almost like a golden age for you to like really try and understand the maths, because a lot of that maths is going to actually build a solid foundation for university. And in university, you may not have time, just given the amount of subjects, to really dig in deep to some of these subjects in the depth you want to. So whilst you have the time now, really go in deep on the maths you can, and that's going to prep you a lot better for university. To assist with that, I actually have a platform, so if you're interested, check that out. But moral of the story is make sure that you really go in deep during this A-level season, because once you get to university, yes, it's way better, 100% better, and you're going to have a great time. But you just got to remember that the subject volume is going to be such that it's going to become a lot more mechanical. At least that's what happened to me.